Welcome to the Abuki Cabal Show.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the show. If you aren't subscribed to the show, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe. Tonight, I'm going to talk about the Fearless Fund, and that's one of the many programs that are exclusively trying to elevate Black women alone in an attempt to uplift the community as a whole is what they try to get you to subscribe to in an effort to get people behind these programs. They say that they're gonna, fund these programs for Black women's education, for more positions of management positions for them, any number of things. When we all know that the need is greater amongst Black men and boys, that hasn't changed. Even though we make strides, we are still accomplishing a lot of things, but still the need is greater amongst Black men and boys. There are virtually no programs being directed at trying to help with educational opportunities for Black boys and men, any job training programs or any of the things that you see for Black women. We've talked about this in the past, how my brother's keeper was attacked in mass. All of these educated Black women came out of the woodwork, PhDs, master's degrees, people who were in politics, high-level politics, came out and demanded that that program be defunded because it only helped men, and they even threatened to take it to the Supreme Court to basically dismantle the program or derail it from making any strides forward. So the program is still around, but it's a shadow of its original self. So we keep hearing over and over and over, from these Pop the Balloon shows to, Ebony K. Williams and all of these people who basically come out and say that, Black men are not doing enough, Black men are lazy, Black men are not earning enough, they're not doing enough to be taken seriously by Black women. When Ice Cube tried to do his efforts in trying to negotiate, with the Trump camp for funding for things that would be good for our community. We saw the Cocktail with Queens come out and say that, no, Black women are separate from Black people, and just all kind of asinine things that we have witnessed over the course of the last, 20 years. It's gotten even worse here within the last 4 years, it's 4 or 5 years since the pandemic happened. We've seen all kinds of selfishness from Black women. We see them constantly, going out there. They're, doing photo shoots with tons of Black female doctors, tons of, Black female lawyers and judges, and when Black men are asking, well, how is any of this benefiting us or the shortfalls in our community? We hear crickets. Or we hear them make all kinds of excuses saying that when you uplift black women, then all of those problems are going to go away. This is, the same thing that white feminists said about, if you uplift, white women, that basically all of the racism that befell the black community would go away because somehow the white females were more benevolent than the white males. And we didn't see any of that throughout any of the historical gains that the first, second, third, fourth wave feminism has done nothing for us, and it progresses. And as it progresses, we're starting to see just more and more selfishness from black women, and how their lack of a sense of connection to the black community is becoming more and more prevalent. We're hearing more and more they don't want to have kids. They don't want to be a part of any kind of family structure, but they do want to be bosses, in every sense of the word, and there are all kinds of programs which they always say there is no help for black women, but we constantly see all these programs, So, with that being said, we're also starting to see a lot of resistance to more of this type of these type of programs being formed. They use the word diversity, equity, and inclusion, and those that program, or those sets of those programs were supposed to go towards black people, and not just black women. But we see this artificial propping up of just one side of the community. So the women are being propped up higher and higher via education and job opportunities, while black men are just getting in where they can. And even though we're making those gains, we're not even. And we're starting to see black women making more and more and more, while black men are making, we still make more than black women on average, but we see a lot of them moving up into higher and higher, pay rates. So, and they're very verbal about black men not measuring up, and more you hear the descriptions of what their ideal man is essentially a white man. You have to have the white man's money. You have to have the white man's connections. You have to have the white man's education. You have to have the white man's accent. And you have to be able to travel like the white man and provide her with nothing but luxury. Not a realistic lifestyle, but luxury. So we're going to take a stab at this Fearless Fund, just one of the programs that has just been denied based on a lawsuit that was brought against it, and if I'm not mistaken, it was by a Jewish lawyer who is aligned with let's just say people who are who have been trying to derail things that programs and things that are beneficial towards black folks for a while. So basically, these lawyers have aligned themselves with other white supremacist type politics, and they're starting to go through and derail these programs. So when you start hearing things like, of color and things like that, and most of these programs are backed by white females who are basically getting the majority of the funding, but then funneling a little bit of it over to elevate black women, and they're also in colleges are being taught things that you keep hearing them say, the same script of these feminist talking points about what they should have, what they deserve, and why they shouldn't get married, as if education is going to fulfill all of their dreams, and traveling all around, and eating cheese and drinking wine and whatnot is just gonna fulfill all of their fantasies. When you see them get up here and they are not advocating for anything for the black community, just more programs to elevate black women, black girl magic. That's all you hear is more and more black girl magic. If we get, reach critical mass of black girl magic, then all of the black community's problems will be solved, and that's just not the case. So let's take a look at this story, and let me set this up. Alrighty. So here's the first story. And it says, this is on USA Today. It was from the 3rd. And it says, Fearless Fund blocked from giving grants only to black women in victory for DEI critics. Okay. So here it says also down here that DEI programs are facing backlash all across the country. Bans is the wording that's used. So goes on to say why DEI is under fire, explaining diversity, equity, and inclusion policies. Initiatives for diversity, equity, and inclusion are facing bans across the United States. If we look at those words, you're talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion. Now, if you're going to be, if you're truly trying to implement that in the way that it's supposed to be, then we would see more black men in some of these programs. We would see black boys in these programs. You would see it evenly distributed amongst the people of color that they're talking about. But basically, that diversity, equity, and inclusion was originally in place to improve the condition of black people and the black community because it needed it the most. If you look around in city after city, our neighborhoods are still in shambles. Most of the time our only hope is to move out of those neighborhoods and move into white neighborhoods in order to improve our conditions. But you don't see an environment being created to where you can clean up those communities, improve the property values and whatnot. You just see people undermining the process of those communities being cleaned up, and the conditions that black people are in those communities are not being improved. But yet more black girl magic, and you don't hear very much. You don't hear anything coming from these people about improving those conditions. Okay. So the article goes on to say, in a closely watched civil rights case, a panel of the 11th Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals blocked Fearless Fund from awarding a $20,000 grants to businesses owned by black women. While the case is litigated, siding with conservative activist Edward Blum, the grant program is likely discriminatory. Okay. The appeals court disagreed with the federal judge who ruled in September that the lawsuit was unlikely to prevail on First Amendment grounds. The defeat for the Atlanta firm working to boost scarce venture capital funding for Black women could have sweeping implications for race-based initiatives in the private sector. So not only will this victory hurt these females, these Black women, it may hurt, any efforts at trying to get anything for Black men, even before they're even created. If we create anything after this, this ruling may come to bear on it because of the one-sidedness of the effort made by these programs. These programs were never meant to just uplift one side of the community. It was supposed to uplift Black people and not just Black women. So let's go on down here. It says, let me add this also. We're starting to see all kinds of, craziness come from Atlanta with regard to, misconduct and just the way we're starting to see some of these women act in their positions. The professional or professional conduct is questionable, and the arrogance that you're starting to see from these types of people who benefit from these programs it's ridiculous. There's no humility, there's no humbleness about being in jobs that are meant to be a public service. So let's move on. Okay, this is devastating for the Fearless Fund Foundation and for the women in which we have invested in. I'm shattered for every girl of color who has a dream but will grow up in a nation determined not to give her a shot to live on. A shot to live it. On their behalf, we will turn the pain into purpose and fight with all our might. Arian Simone, CEO and funding partner for the Fearless Fund and founder of the Fearless Foundation, said in a statement to USA Today. Okay, so she's only concerned, again, about all of the girls who haven't aren't going to be given a shot, But when we speak about, the boys who need help and all these boys who are not reading at grade level and who need, support and whatnot, we're being spoken about as if we're hate mongers, when what we're asking for is equity and inclusion in this process. Some of the very things, and when you go back to the Monahan report laid out where the need was in the community. And if we compared from the year when the report was released to now, those needs have not disappeared. But no one's trying to address those needs again. So the article goes on to say that Simone said that the Fearless Fund was still open for business. The message these judges sent today is the diversity in corporate America, education, or anywhere else should not exist. Wow. Okay. If it was truly about exercising free speech with your dollars, an American tradition as old as this nation itself, the results would have been different. Instead, these judges bought with a small group of white men were selling. They countered the rulings of other courts sued on similar grounds, she said. Okay. All right. So the Fearless Fund case is part of a growing pushback from conservative activists like Blum, who after last year's landmark affirmative action victory over race conscious college admissions set his sights on the private sector. So we saw what happened in that, where the conservatives basically got the Asian community to basically side with them and to bring down the black preference for college admissions, thinking that after they did that, that basically they would have a higher standing in getting into these colleges. But as we've seen, their numbers have dropped also. So they were used just like they're using black women, to basically destroy their communities as well. So you see what that some of the tactics that are being used, and by some of the conservatives to basically destroy these programs. Because people are just getting tired of seeing, women being portrayed in ways that aren't real. Women who are being put into positions who are basically not fair and impartial. We're starting to see that Disney is pressing us to view things. Disney, amongst other companies, are forcing us to view things that are and that are basically just scripted. Social engineering as to how they want people to start looking at the world. As if men and women are not different. More and more of this, alphabet community in every movie. There's no need for a man and woman to get together to have kids. There's that, Star Wars is being destroyed. All the movies are portraying these man-like women. Women are no longer dressing in ways that are sexy, demure, or appealing in any way to men, and they think that that's good. That's the way it's supposed to be. But everything that men like is slowly but surely being destroyed in favor of a woman-centric era, I guess we can say. The rest of the world is pretty much rejecting this as well. And they're watching the United States to see, just where this is going. And it's basically, it's not as successful as they would hope. But like with any other conquering nation in the past, you see that basically they conquer through educating the children, and then they don't care about the current generation. They're look at your kids and look at how your kids are communicating, and the words that they're saying, the things that they're doing. And some of the things that we're hearing, young girls saying that, again, they don't want to be married. They think all men are pretty much just trash. You look at this pop the balloon shit, and people are, they just see a guy and pop the balloon. Well, you just look like a bum to me. You know what I mean? I just don't like what you're wearing. I mean, your presentation is off, but I just don't feel like we have any chemistry. But you haven't even spoke to the guy. You know what I mean? But we're having to face that even from these types of women after they leave these programs. And don't think that after they get into these programs that there's not going to be an education aspect of that program that's going to be woman-centric. They're going to get you in that program, but they're going to make sure that you're thinking appropriately, which is in a feminist way and woman-centric. And once you get up there, your job is going to be to elevate other women, you know. And we've already heard, you know, we had a woman that came on and said that she was at a college, and she refused to give a letter of recommendation to a young man after his mother asked, just because he was a boy. And she wrote that basically black girls needed more, you know. So to hell with the young men who need letters of recommendation and who need a hand up. They don't care about that. You know, I remember when I was in college, you know, the women that taught me, my biology professor was very helpful and always supportive, and supported me in everything that I did when I was in college. My genetics professor was trying to get me into the human genome program to try to help with that, and to do internships with that, you know. Very supportive. So the types of women that I came up with were very supportive of black men, but that era is gone now. It's just not, it's not the same. You know, you're seeing black men being undermined in real time. Okay, let's move on with the article. Though it does not, well, let's say our nation's civil rights laws do not permit racial distinction because some groups are overrepresented in various endeavors, while others are underrepresented, Blum said in a statement. The programs that exclude certain individuals because of their race, such as the ones the Fearless Fund has designed and implemented, are unjust and polarizing. I wish he would have put sex in there. You know, probably would have made a little bit more sense for sex, you know, because there is a need for black people to have these programs, but it's for black people to have these programs, and they should not be relegated to just women. You know, if you're gonna uplift people, it should be both. Is my only argument. Yeah. Okay. So he goes on to say, though it does not technically apply to employers, conservative activists seized on the decision that struck down affirmative action in higher education, arguing it raises fundamental issues about how corporate America addresses workplace inequity. Since then, the nation has seen an uptick in legal challenges to DEI programs. The anti-woke backlash has unnerved business leaders who find themselves navigating shifting terrain. Indeed, it has. So we're starting to see a negative effect of all of this alphabet community, pushing this, you know, all of this feminist pushing. We're seeing it in every aspect of our lives, you know, and it's just getting crazy. It's crazy. You know, all of this started, you know, with small little pushes to see what we would fight against and what society wouldn't fight against. And since, you know, I hear this all the time where people say, well, what do you care? What do you care if black women have these programs, or what do you care if there's gay people doing this and doing that? And what that is designed to do is to put you into a false sense of security about the position that you have right now at this moment. You know, so if you don't fight it, if you don't say anything about it, then they get to roll over you without any opposition. And then you wake up the next day and guess what? They've got policy instituted to help them to increase their standing in whatever it is that they're trying to do. You know, we see a part of the population that's 0.7% of the population that has the inclusion into radio, television, internet, politics, as if they're 50 to 75% of the population. And it doesn't make any sense. They're being heard over people who have a greater need, who have a more realistic need. You have these people who have brought into question settled science that has stood for hundreds of years, and now it's being questioned. This is having a negative effect on our society at large. And all of the victories that the civil rights movement gained in order for the betterment of our communities is being dismantled because of the selfishness of Black women and the selfishness of gay folks who basically want to go in and basically steal from the victories of the civil rights movement. So they add off in there of color, so that they can cover everybody. So that's their way of basically taking the pie and cutting it up into smaller and smaller pieces. So you're basically diversifying it to the point to where, nothing's going to get done. You got programs out here for gay farmers. But Black farmers are still fighting their fight to try to get their money and get their land back from years of oppression. But then these people are saying, hey, we suffered from the same oppression. And you start to hear these words and these terms, the intersectionality of this and that. And I'm starting to hear that in everything, in medicine, in nursing, in law, in, everything, And it's just becoming crazy. We have really opened it up to where people that have lost their minds are instituting policy and draining the resources that are in place to help us help Black people in their communities. Now, all of the help that was supposed to come from our victories basically got siphoned off by white women. I mean, it's documented, and now it's it's being siphoned off even more because you see who's championing these other groups are still white women. White women are still championing these alphabet community efforts and programs. They tell Black women, oh yeah, you're going to be the face of this, and they get up there and they become the spokesperson for whatever effort that they're trying to push forward. Not thinking about the larger picture. And I keep hearing people say, Black people keep saying we're not a monolith. We need to be a monolith. Do you hear Chinese people saying that they're not a monolith? Do you see white people saying we're not a monolith? You see, Hispanic people saying they're not a monolith. Hell no, they're a monolith. They're moving in unison, trying to get policies pushed through so that it will benefit them and their community and whatever political efforts, negotiations that they're trying to push forward. While Black people are sitting up, scatter shooting at targets. 5 of us here, 10 of us there. No unified effort to do anything. And it's a shame. We look stupid. But let's move on in this article, okay? A small player in the venture capital industry, the Fearless Fund was founded by Black women to back Black women who received less than 1% of the $215 billion in venture capital funding last year. I wonder how much venture capital funding that Black men got. Okay, the firm has funded new companies like restaurant chains, Slutty Vegan, beauty brand, Live Tinted, and beauty brand Live Tinted. Okay, the The U.S. District Court Judge Thomas Thrash Jr., who was appointed by President Bill Clinton, had ruled that the Fearless Fund grant program is a form of protected speech under the First Amendment. The 11th Circuit panel disagreed. 2 of the 3 judges are Donald Trump appointees. Further evidence of us working to try to negotiate for political power, something that we've lost sight of since our conditions have somewhat improved. So while we're sitting up here talking about luxury and how much money we have, our political power is just being eaten away. Okay? The preliminary injunction relief is appropriate because the fearless contest is, the panel said, substantially unlikely to enjoy First Amendment protections and inflicts irreparable injury. A lawyer for the Fearless Fund said the judges relied on a 1866 law designed to provide economic freedom to newly freed slaves to prohibit the Fearless Foundation from providing grants to Black women. This is the first court decision in the 150-plus year history of the post-Civil War civil rights law that has halted private charitable support for any racial or ethnic group. The dissenting judge, the district court, and other courts have agreed with us that these types of claims should not prevail. Alfonso David, president and CEO of the Global Black Economic Forum and attorney representing the Fearless Fund, said in a statement, "This is not the final outcome in this case. It is a preliminary ruling without a full factual record." Okay? So that's the first article that came out right after it was done. The ruling came down. So here is another one that came out shortly after that. This is on June 25th. And it states that the Fearless Fund founder has resigned, and it's a sad reflection on the VC world for Black women. Okay. On Monday, the Fearless Fund co-founder Ayanna Parsons announced that she was stepping down from her leadership role from the firm. She will no longer be its general partner and COO, but will be off enjoying island life with her family, she said in a LinkedIn post. She co-founded the fund in 2019 with partner Ariane Simone, who remains its CEO. Fearless Fund was founded with a mission to provide venture capital, financing, grants, and financial education to startups founded by Black women. That's a demographic that is both particularly underserved and promising. Less than 1% of all venture capital dollars in 2023 went to Black women. That's a demographic that is both particularly underserved and promising. Oh, but read the wrong line. Sorry. Less than 1% of venture capital dollars in 2023 went to Black funded startups, which amounts to around $661 million out of $136 billion, according to Crunchbase data. So, Fearless Fund is doing exactly what venture capitalists are supposed to do. Find an overlooked area in Silicon Valley, they might call it taking a contrarian view, and invest. The fund has so far invested $26 million into over 40 companies that include Slutty Vegan, The Lip Bar, Partake Foods, and Live Tinted. Atlanta Daily World reports. The money invested and granted is from private limited partners. The LPs who supported the fund want to support this thesis. The companies receiving money are still private startups, since so little classic venture capital funding is going to these businesses, the community is building their own rails. Everyone in this ecosystem is okay with this. Still, it is being sued by a politically conservative group called the American Alliance of Equal Rights over its charitable grants program. AAER is challenging the fund's right to provide $20,000 in small business grants to Black women, claiming the program violates the Civil Rights Act of 1866, which bans the use of race in contracts. Okay, so the AAER was founded by Edward Blum, an activist who helped successfully overturn affirmative action in universities, and is now conducting several other lawsuits in similar veins. Okay. The AAER is currently suing the Smithsonian Institute's Latino Museum Studies program for hiring Latino interns. The case is not going particularly well for the Fearless Fund. As TechCrunch recently reported earlier this month, an appeals court ruled against Fearless. It upheld the preliminary injunction that prevents the firm from making grants to Black women business owners. The firm told TechCrunch at that time it is weighing its options on how to proceed. Okay. Last year, when the case made national news, numerous founders and investors told TechCrunch about the infuriating agony of using the Civil Rights Act of 1866 to promote the firm's program, or to protest the firm's program, as it was initially put into place to help the formerly enslaved and is now being used against the community it sought to help. It is ironic. In the months that followed, the frustrations of this case within the community has not lessened. Earlier on Monday, Parsons had an emotional moment on stage at the Forbes Black Summit in Atlanta. She was joined by political leader Stacey Abrams and the Chief Diversity Officer of Congress, Dr. Sisha Joy Moon. Anytime you are surrounded by Black women, they are going to pour into you, Parsons said, according to Forbes. So when I walked onto this stage, these eyes were watering because they understood the heavy burden that is on all of us in this community. After announcing her resignations, Parsons told the Atlanta Journal-Constitution and her spokesperson confirmed to TechCrunch that the lawsuit against Fearless was not a motivating factor, but she did not otherwise explain her decision to leave. She also remains an investor in the fund. As co-founder, Ayanna is still an investor. She has always had multiple ventures centered around inclusion, leadership, and development, venture capital, and entrepreneurship. Fearless Fund is merely one avenue in her pursuit to be an advocate for the marginalized, her spokesperson said. Seems like the marginalized only applies to certain folks and not us. But Parsons said in her LinkedIn post that she founded the firm to help change the game for women of color, entrepreneurs. And my rationale was simple. Women of color are the most funded, yet least funded. Most founded, but least funded. They are starting businesses at a faster rate than any other demographic, yet lack access to capital, resources, education, and networks needed to scale their business. She also promised not to give up on her goal. I remain steadfast in my support of and commitment to the advancement of women of color, she said in an email statement, mentioning that she'll soon be publishing a book too. Still, as we previously pointed out, the sad fact is the big names in the tech ecosystem have not exactly come out swinging in support of CEO Simone told Inc. In support, CEO Simone told Inc. Earlier this year that the fund had lost nearly all of its partners aside from two, J.P. Morgan and Costco. Even MasterCard, which sponsored the now contested Strivers grant, has publicly never commented on the lawsuit. Indeed, support for anything considered DEI has done a completely pendulum swing since in 2024, from its height in 2020 after the murder of George Floyd. Currently, it has become more in vogue to publicly pan DEI and praise the so-called mediocrity. Okay, so as you can see, and Dr. Tiosan Johnson has talked about this, BGS has talked about this. Green Gorilla talked about this, how after George Floyd, how these women come out and they say that they're fighting for us, they're speaking up for black men, and what do? They used it to enrich themselves. They used it to better their positions. They're not using it to basically stop things like this from happening. No programs are being generated to put a spotlight on bad interactions with the police by black males. No, what they did was they went out and they started starting businesses for black women that are female centric. All of the people that work there are black. Yeah, black women. All the people who found the businesses are black women. All they talk about in these articles are black women and how bad this is going to be for black women. You don't hear anything about community, about what it's how this is gonna affect the black condition. All you see is black girl magic. So, and we're all supposed to be good with that. We're all supposed to somehow benefit from all of this consolidation of power with black women, when all you have to do is open up your ears and listen to what they say about people who are like them, that are being talked down to about. They're not talking about any kind of opportunities for anybody else but themselves. It just sounds like more selfishness, more one-sided growth, and there's no humility. There's no nothing in this that is beneficial for the black community as a whole. And that's my take on it. You guys let me know if you think that I'm wrong. And we can discuss it in the comments. I appreciate you guys listening. And if you guys have heard more about this, you have any, a different view about it, like I said, hit me down in the comments. I look forward to talking about this and how this has changed over the course of the years. How ever since the talk shows in the 80s, all the way up to the the movies, the book clubs, with Oprah's efforts to include all of this black feminism into the forefront of entertainment, as well as Tyler Perry and all of his movies. He continues to crank out these movies that basically put us in a bad light, and I think that all of this is just basically focusing all of that energy like a shape charge into a focal point to make it more powerful. And it's going to reach critical mass, and I think what's going to happen is it's not only going to hurt them, it's going to hurt all of us because of the misuse of opportunity, the misuse of power, the misuse of education, in an effort to do things that are not beneficial to all of us. But that's my take on it. I appreciate you guys listening, and please like, share, and subscribe.
You are listening to Abuki Cabal, the analytical savage.